the KDrama Show with Ashley and Kim.
That's Ashley.
That's Kim. We're here to recap and relive our favorite moments of episode 6 of Business Proposal with you, our listeners.
I almost said my ID is Gangnam Beauty.
All right.
It's a little bit ago. If you have not watched, we're going to jump right in. So if you've not watched the episode yet, make sure you go do that before you come back here and hang out with us for this review of episode 6. Whoa.
Yeah.
For this review. It doesn't matter. So without further ado, let's jump into it.
Welcome to the KDrama Show. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Kim.
We're here to unpack your all-time favorite Korean dramas and chat about all the reasons that we find these shows so charming.
And so addictive, and we know you do too, so settle in with some ramen and a boba tea while we dive into the KDrama Show with Ashley and Kim.
Be sure to check us out on Instagram at the KDrama Show. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, pretty much anywhere where you can get podcasts. I'm throwing more polls at the end of the episodes, especially on Spotify, so be sure to be responding to those so we can kind of get your feedback of, we like this direction, we like the show.
We hate you.
Let's not do that one.
Please don't make me cry. It's been a rough week.
Yeah, okay.
Episode 6, topic number 1 is called Justice. So TaeMoo and Hadi have arrived at the police station following the whole lamp debacle where Sung-hoon and Young-so are waiting. So the girls are taken into like an interrogation room and presented with the footage that they had obtained from this guy. And it's the two girls who are wandering around the apartment. And they learn that the offender is only going to earn a fine for this. Which, whoa.
What?
Get Ji-young on this one.
Check out our review of Vigilante. If you don't like violent things, don't listen. Anyway, okay.
Or do, I don't know.
Or just don't watch it.
Don't watch the show.
Don't watch the show. Moving on.
Anyway, so Hadi is, back up. So TaeMoo is like, yeah, no, that's not going to fly for me. Hadi is looking back, kind of reflecting on TaeMoo's erratic behavior, and she's at home now. And she's sort of realizing that he's actually been attempting to expose her this whole time, and he has to know who she is, like really who she is. Mm-hmm. And back at the police station, TaeMoo is busy defending Hadi's honor. He's letting this schmuck know that he's fired now. And he's like, what are you talking about? You're not my boss. You're not in my company. He goes, as of just a few minutes ago, yes, I am. I just bought your company on the condition that they fire the guy who snuck a camera into the house of two girls and took videos of them. And he starts to lose it over this. He's also gathered evidence of claims from other women that this guy has abused in various ways or made advances on. And he's cornering this guy into basically begging for mercy. But TaeMoo tells him, serve your time. And then the guy screams at him. And he's like, this has nothing to do with me. Like, this is not my fault or whatever. And then TaeMoo basically just tells him, you've poked the bear by messing with somebody that I really care about. Fair.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, because even Sung-hoon was like, somehow all of your victims had to go on with their lives.
Yeah. It's not about you, friend. That brings us into topic number 2, which is called Kobaek.
So at the office, Hadi is waiting for the elevator, and her young coworker comes up and she's all excited and turns and sees TaeMoo and Secretary Cha walking up. She's like, this is like the highlight of working here is I get to see his face. And Hadi dips. She's like, yeah, nope. And on the elevator, and once they get to Hadi's floor, TaeMoo actually gets off with the coworker and is like trying to find out where Hadi is, because he's like, I need to talk to her. Like,
He's worried about her too.
Calling her, and like she's ignoring it, and he almost finds her, and I think he even sees her, and he's just like, yeah, okay, we can hold off on this
I feel like his
conversation for a
feelings
second.
were hurt in that moment too.
Like, why are you avoiding me? Like, we have like important things that like we need to talk about. But he texts her and tells her, you know, we need to meet after work. And in his office, Sung-hoon is just like in shock because TaeMoo is easily admitting now how much he likes Shin-hari. And he's like, what? And he says,
It has feelings.
I am very concerned. But TaeMoo's, you know, basically saying no matter how things started, she's who I was attracted to from the beginning. That's why I proposed. Like, yeah, I made a backstory for her. Everything else was still her. Like, it was still Hari being herself through it all. And he's decided that he's going to, you know, confess his feelings for her. And someone is like, sir, I admire your confidence. I really think you need to stop. And instead, TaeMoo plans a whole proposal of they're going to go to dinner. And when he takes his fingers and puts them up to his forehead,
Yeah.
stringed, you know, quartet and a cake and flowers are going to all be presented to her as he proposes. And
It's awful.
yeah, it's a lot. But Hari arrives that night, and she's very confused at the sudden switch that TaeMoo has shown. And you know, she then proceeds to go into her presentation, along with, you know, profusely apologizing of like, I had no idea that you were going to be the person that was going to show up. If I had known, I would have never, you know, come to the blind date. Like, I'm so sorry for everything and all the trouble that I've caused. And she hands him a resignation letter. And he just goes, what? And touches his hand to his head. And as she's presenting of like, you know, you really shouldn't fire me because I'm a really good worker. And look at all the things that I've done. And he looks at the procession that's now walking towards them. And he's like, no. Stop walking towards me.
The moment has passed.
It didn't even show up.
Yeah, that's true. So that brings us into topic number 3, which is called Namchin. So TaeMoo and Sung-hoon are busy discussing how Hari is very silly to not accept TaeMoo as a man. But Sung-hoon kind of reminds him that, you know, you may have feelings, but she also had feelings for Minu this whole time, for a very long time. And you can't expect her to just drop those out on a whim, especially for a guy who sort of bullied his way into her life. And he's still the terrifying boss that wanted to try to get her to quit. And so we see that Hari has gotten invited to like a dinner with some classmates. And there's Young-so and there's Minu and Minu's girlfriend. And they're there celebrating the fact that he has earned like a slot on a TV show. And a lot of it's due to the fact that Hari was able to get his product placed with Go Foods, and it gave him a lot of great exposure.
Right.
And so Minu's, you know, profusely thanking her and saying, you know, I could have never gotten this opportunity without you. And she's like, no, you would have done it on your own. And the girlfriend's like, yeah, you heard her. You would have done it on your own.
Yura's something.
She's got a little green monster for sure. But everyone's eating. Minu has to step away, and the girlfriend goes and grabs something. And at the table, the gossip starts with, you know, I'm just really shocked at the fact that Minu and this girl have been on again, off again. You know, I really thought that you and Minu, Hari, had a thing going. And as the on again, off again girlfriend is coming back to the table, she overhears this part of the conversation. She's like, what's going on, guys? What are we talking about? But Hari is kind of disconnected from the conversation because she's waiting for a text from TaeMoo. She needs to know what's going on here.
Do I still have a job?
Yeah, exactly. And so people start to make comments on this like, oh, Hadi must have a boyfriend now. And she's like, no, I don't. And the girlfriend's like, yeah, of course she wouldn't. She's, too busy all the time, all these kinds of things. And Young-so does not like that.
Well, because she tells her, your standards are just too high and you need to lower them a bit.
Yeah.
And I put the actual audacity. Do not lower your standards.
Well, why would you
care?
Isn't that a good thing? That means that you've got a quality guy. But it doesn't matter.
Moving on.
Anyway, so Young-so's like, yeah, we're not having that. And she goes, Hadi has a boyfriend. And Hadi's like, can you shut up, please? You keep getting me into these situations where I have to lie, and I hate it.
This is your fault.
This is all your fault. But Mino is very alarmed at the fact that Hadi supposedly has this boyfriend, and this just makes the girlfriend more jealous. But Young-so and Hadi are walking home when Young-so is like, yeah, I gotta use the bathroom, and she rushes in and to a public restroom, but she is like so traumatized by this whole episode with the camera that she's like, I can't do it. She's like seeing eyeballs all around her. But that brings us into topic number 4, which is called Second Chances.
So TaeMoo has summoned, for lack of a better term, frankly,
That's a great term.
Hadi to his office and just kind of sits there in silence for a minute and like making her sweat a little bit. And he pulls her resignation letter out of a drawer and rips it up in front of her. And she just kind of like starts to realize that she gets to keep her job. And he tells her, it would be my loss to fire such a good employee over revenge. Mm-hmm. And she, vows, I'm going to work twice as hard. You won't regret this. I'm going to do everything I can. And he goes, in that case, I need you to meet me after work for a project that I have under wraps. And I'm recruiting you, basically, to be on my team. And she's like, done. Like, okay, yeah, like, I have my job. I'm relieved. And then we cut to Young-so, and she's at work. Mm-hmm. And she's stressing over the fact that she's not able to stay as hydrated as she would prefer to because, then she'll have to go to the restroom, and we're not coping so well with that right now.
Well, it was a unisex restroom, too.
And yeah, so it's even worse. And her cousin walks in, and they notice that they are wearing the same shirt. And then we just get this fabulous montage of them walking in for like 4 or 5 days straight.
Yeah.
Having at least one piece be exactly the same. Mm-hmm. And we cut back to, real time. And, her cousin's just like, I can't believe you're copying me. And she goes, I was told this was the last one. And Young-so goes, funny, when I bought mine, she told me there were 2 left. So therefore, I bought my outfit first. You're copying me. And
I love how she just doesn't care that she's like, I don't care that we're wearing the same clothes, but I get a little amusement out of the fact that you hate when we're wearing the same clothes.
Clearly you like my style. But then we cut back to TaeMoo, and he has invited Hadi to see a movie with him. Mm-hmm. And he's using the excuse that this movie has, a food researcher, and it has to do with the foreign market. And so this is the best way to expose you to this and the types of things that you are going to be looking for us to expand farther into the foreign market without actually going. And so they're in this theater, which he has rented out the entire thing because he doesn't like crowded places. And she's trying to get her chair to lean back, and he, of course, helps her because
it's KDrama.
It's KDrama. And when, he gets the chair pushed back for her, we have our faces 2 inches apart and the heart pound just in the background. And Hadi ducks and goes out and is in the bathroom, like, taking a breath and goes, girl, it's been too long since you dated. Like, that's really what your biggest problem is right now. And as she leaves the bathroom, she runs into a couple of her coworkers, the team leader and Kevin. And she was like, oh, well, my movie's about to start. I need to go. And she runs into the theater to tell TaeMoo, like, we have to be careful when we leave because my coworkers are here, and they have actually followed her into said theater
Not their theater, which...
Because, again, it's a K-drama, and that's how these work. So TaeMoo is forced to crawl out, and once he makes it out of the theater, just looks up at one of the attendants and just stands and goes, "Good job."
Doing great, bud. That brings us into topic 5, which I called emergency. Youngso is pretty much suffering because she just is way too paranoid to use any sort of public restroom. And so she is busy waiting for a bus. And as she is, she actually hears a honk, and it's Sunghoon, who's like, "I'll give you a ride if you want it," which she accepts. And as they're sitting in the car, traffic is kind of slowed to a stop, and so they strike up a conversation, and she's like, "Thank you for your help the other day," and he goes, "I wasn't just gonna stand there and not." But then we see that Hari and Uiju, the team leader, and Kevin are all leaving the movie, and TaeMoo calls Hari in some really pathetic attempt to, like, salvage the date at this point. And she tells him, they want to go drinking. I'm going to go with them. I'm sure you've already gone home anyway. I'm sorry that it didn't work out, but I'll make sure to give you my report on my findings tomorrow. And he's sitting there watching her from across the room going, "Okay.
You're right. I did go home.
I am definitely home and not a loser who waited 2 hours for you to leave the movie alone." But we're back in the car, and it's Youngso, and she is trying so hard not to lose it as they just continue to sit in this traffic jam. And she is like, has beads of sweat running down her face, and she has to go. So she's like, "Can you please turn on some music? Can you do anything to distract me from the fact that I'm about to pee my pants in your car?" And then finally she just busts out the door. She's like, "I gotta go. I'll see you later." And she rushes to the nearest restroom, which is unfortunately locked, or like the door is jammed. And then we see Sunghoon like bust around the corner because he's worried about her. He doesn't know what's going on. And he's like, "Are you okay?" And he sees her on the ground, like holding herself, and he like turns away to leave. He just doesn't know what to do. And then finally he's like, "Okay, I'll break down the door for you." So he kicks in the door and he pushes her in, and she's like, "Yeah, you can leave now. It's fine. I'll see you later."
I just loved that she was against the wall as he was kicking the door down, just like trying to hold on to it, just begging, because I was like, oh, yeah.
We've all been there at least once. But that brings us into topic number 6, which is called business trip. Here's my question. Why didn't he just check the male restroom and then stand outside for her?
I don't know.
It's fine, anyway.
But to finish that scene, because it's fabulous and it's used as like a meme, is she gets home and she's walking in her house and she's just kind of like shuffling along, sits on her couch and begins to laugh hysterically, and it turns into sobbing. She's just like, I'm like, yeah.
I feel that.
Same. Moving on. So TaeMoo is completely obsessed with figuring out how to take Hottie out on a date.
Like stalker level.
Like
not quite camera in her house, but
no, but it has become so distracting that once he finally figures out what her social media is, he's in the middle of a business meeting and he's just scrolling his phone, finding out all the things that she likes, the things that she dislikes. You know, there's a picture of her as a little girl and he's like, oh, she's so cute even when she was little. And I'm like, dude, you're in the middle of a meeting for your company. But he calls her and says, I need you to come with me on a business trip. And so they're in, was it Sokcho? Is that where they...
That was
Like, that's where they went to?
I thought it was Gwangdo.
So they're in a different place. And TaeMoo is with his grandpa, and they are doing, like, an opening of some building. And his grandpa's like, let's go fishing. Like, we're done. Like, you don't have any more plans? And TaeMoo's like, yeah, I can't. You go for it. Have fun with Sunghoon. I will not. And his grandpa realizes, oh, he has a date with Kyung-hee. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you know what? Don't come back till tomorrow. It's fine. Like, go. But we see that Hari has shown up.
Not before he wishes that
Oh, yeah,
they
wishes
would
things,
return
he's like,
with
you
the
know,
grandchild.
You could do this a few times. Maybe one time you bring a great-grandson in tow. Like, that's fine. Calm down, Grandpa.
Whoa.
Yikes. So Hari meets TaeMoo, and when he calls her to say, "Hey, this is where I'm at," and he's like, "Yeah, I see you," and she turns around, we get the music, and she's like, "Wow, he's so cool," and then goes, "Get a grip, like, get it together."
Boss.
And so when she walks up, he takes her bag, and she's like, "Oh, okay," but she immediately jumps into the driver's seat because, like, no, we have X, Y, and Z. These are the places that we need to go to. She is in total work mode, and TaeMoo is less than thrilled because he just wanted to take a nice drive along the ocean side, and
Just hoping for any
I
moment.
just want this date to happen, and she is no pedal to the metal. We're getting it to all these locations that I want to get to. And so when they finally get to the restaurant that Hari was like, "This is where we need to go," she's super disappointed to find that they closed, like, right as they had parked the car, and there's no way that they're getting in. To which TaeMoo was like, "You know what? Let's just go down to the beach. I've been wanting to see the ocean. Maybe we'll find something down there." And they are walking along, and they come upon this food truck, which is supposed to be, like, really rare to find it. Like, it's super popular. It also happens to be one of the locations or food related places that she has posted on her social media. So of course TaeMoo's going to go there. So they Hattie is freaking out of, like, what do I order? This is, like, they're all amazing. What am I supposed to do here? And as they're waiting for their food, she's, taking pictures of the ocean, and the food truck owner gives him, the burgers that they had ordered, and he's like, that lady, like, first of all, I thought you were pranking me, saying you would pay for an entire day's worth if I just sold you 2 burgers. Like, if she knew, she'd be so touched by your actions. And TaeMoo tells him, but then that would lose all of the charm.
Aww.
Swoon.
That brings us into topic 7, which is called dreams. So Hari and TaeMoo are kind of finally starting to connect after all of this time over hamburgers of all things. And Hari even takes a moment to sort of open up about her childhood experiences as the daughter of, like, bakery owners, and just how it came with some of its own struggles, but she looks at it with fondness, because I think there was a lot of love in her home. But he asks her about why she specifically had become a food researcher, and she says that she had always kind of had a dream to work in food, making delicious dishes. But then he's like, well, what's your current dream? Like, now you're doing that, so what's your current dream? And she thinks back to how she had grown up eating frozen foods because she was the daughter of 2 working parents. And so there wasn't a lot of home-cooked meals, but she felt the love through, she enjoyed those foods, and they're nostalgic for her now. And so she hopes to be able to, like, help other families feel that same happiness by giving them quality frozen foods that they can access, when they need a quick meal. And he kind of sees more of a glimpse into who she is, and he glances down and her shoe's untied. So he bends over, and he ties it for her. And she's like, "You shouldn't be doing this. Like, this, I'm not goofy anymore." And he's like, if you're haughty or if you're goofy, the situation is the same. It is very cute.
Okay.
That brings us into topic number 8, which I called Cha-Cha.
I like it. So Young-So is back at that restaurant where she had been seated alone but previously. And she is trying to figure out if there's any possible way that she can avoid running into Sunghoon because of the massively embarrassing
Toilet
moment.
debacle.
And he walks up and she's like, oh, I can leave? And then her food gets served to her and he's like, I can leave. She's like, no, it's fine. Let me just have several bottles of soju and beer so I can completely embarrass myself more in front of you.
Like, what did that gain us here?
And someone asked her, like, why are you avoiding me? And I'm asking you this because I don't know. Mm-hmm. And she's like, well, what woman who is in my position wouldn't be embarrassed in front of the guy she likes? Like,
no.
Please.
That couldn't have been any more perfect.
And she actually leaves, and someone follows her out because he's like, you had, like, several bottles of alcohol, like,
let me take you home.
Let me at least make sure that you're okay.
On my way.
I know where you live because I am your neighbor. And he actually pulls her out of somebody's path on a scooter, so she doesn't get hit. And she gets upset with him and is like, you need to stop. Like, I've liked you since the first time I ever saw you at that convenience store. Like, you drew the line. You told me not to cross it after learning, our identities. And I've done nothing but make a fool of myself in front of you. And, like, I need to stop liking you. And this is really not helping me out. And she asks him, to let her go. And he goes, if I let you go, you're going to fall down. Mm-hmm. Like, no. And she tells him, if you don't, I'm going to do something. If you don't let go by the count of 3. And after she gets to 3, she kisses him. Obviously very sloppily because we're highly intoxicated. And pulls back. But someone pulls her back in. And make out sesh on the sidewalk.
Because that's...
normal.
Maybe in the States. At the smooch. Topic number 9 is called car wreck. So, Hadi and TaeMoo are kind of palling around at this point. They found some common ground, like a shared love or a shared passion for food. Mm-hmm. And they're now on the drive home, and he's like, it's been a long day. Why don't you just get some rest while I drive us home? It's not a big deal. And she's like, no, I can't leave you to just chauffeur me around. You're my boss. That's not appropriate. And as they're kind of having this conversation, suddenly it starts to rain really hard. And TaeMoo starts to visibly get very uncomfortable with the situation. And it's triggering some sort of, like, trauma response in him. He's, like, gripping the wheel and feeling super uncomfortable. And he finally just pulls over on the side of the road right there. And he all but orders Hadi to get out of the car. He's just like, get out. And she's going, well, I can't. It's raining outside. You wouldn't just kick me out. And he's like, no.
Out.
Get out. She's like, okay. And he's like, yeah, you got to get back to Seoul on your own. Sorry, friend. And she takes off, but she's like, wait, my bag's in the car, but he's already gone. And so she's just stranded on the side of the road. She has no purse. Her cell phone is on its last leg. And she finds a bus stop, and all that's there is this very broken umbrella. But at least it's something. Mm-hmm. But we see that TaeMoo is having a flashback to his parents' car wreck. And this happened to take place on a rainy day. And so he associates rain with the day that his parents died. And he starts to cry, which is sort of a big deal for him. But Hadi's phone's run out of battery, and her shoelaces started to come untied, and she bends over to tie it, and she's kind of grumbling about how, TaeMoo made her heart race and all of these things, and now he's just back to square one where he hates her again, and she just has emotional whiplash at this point. But that brings us into topic 9, which is called Rescued.
So the rain finally stops, And TaeMoo is able to pull himself together and realizes that he had kicked Hadi out of the car and was like, well, I need to go get her because that's not going to go well. So he goes back to where he had kicked her out and finds that she is not there. And so his search begins of, where did you go? But Hadi has made it to the hotel that she had seen, and it was able to get her phone charged, dry her hair, feel a little bit more normal. And as she's picking up her phone, she turns and finds the group that had come down to watch Minwoo's production for the TV show, and they're stopping at this specific hotel for the night.
Go figure.
Absolutely. And they're like, oh yeah, weren't you on a date this weekend? Like, weren't you supposed to be with your boyfriend? Where is he? Why won't you introduce? And she's like, yeah, he couldn't come. And we just hear, hey, honey. And it's TaeMoo walking across the lobby. And, like, he is playing the boyfriend card. And it's like, are you okay? I was worried. Like, did I make you wait too long? And turns to the girls who are starting to drool at this point. And like, hi, I'm TaeMoo, and I'm Hadi's boyfriend. End of episode.
Character of the hour.
I think I like Hadi for this episode. Owning it. Because yes, obviously she now knows that he knows who she actually is. And she doesn't try to play any games. She doesn't try to hide it. She just goes, you know what? Yes. And I am so sorry for everything that has followed suit. And I will resign. I really don't want to lose my job because I love my job. Like, but I'll respect whatever decision you decide to make.
Just don't sue me.
You told me I didn't have to do that anymore. Like, I wasn't Kimmy anymore. But then, like, for the date, not a date, because she doesn't know it's a date, still protecting TaeMoo of, like, yeah, I know you don't want to be caught with me by my coworkers. Like, that would not... Things just would be said, and there's nothing to be said, but to protect your reputation, and even for the business trip of like, no, you're my boss. I'm going to do the things for my boss because that is my job. I'm not going to let you just... But then even after getting kicked out, like, she's obviously upset that he kicked her out in the rain because...
Scrappy thing to do.
That was rude. But she even has, like, she thinks back and was like, he said how he doesn't like the rain. Like, is he okay? And so
no.
No, he is not well. So I really appreciated her just willingness to be like, you know, to apologize, but then like, yeah, I'm going to do whatever you need me to do because I am still your employee. And even though he was kind of schmucky, to be like, are you okay?
Yeah, recognizing she doesn't have the full...
Like, I can tell something is going on, but, like, are you good?
Are we good?
Are we good?
I think my character of the hour would probably be Youngso. Just because she's always been very straightforward with her feelings, and is trying to balance keeping the peace and being honest with her feelings. And I think that that's kind of admirable of her. Albeit, I mean, granted, she's a little bit petty about some of her interaction. But for the most part, I feel like she's like, yeah, we do have to coexist. And I might be a little snarky about it, but at the end of the day, I'm just trying to reconcile my feelings with your rejection.
Also, I'm really embarrassed.
Yeah, it's fair. But then I think her persistence, and not in a like, you have to love me sort of way, but just, I still like you and I'm still here. It pays off for her. And so, I don't know. I think her character's fun anyway. But
Agreed.
Final thoughts?
I liked how we're halfway through now. We're on episode 6, and I appreciate the kind of cringy moments of, I'm going to confess my feelings. Please stop, because she doesn't feel that way about you right now. Like, you can't just be like, hey, let's be together now because I know who you are. Like, no, stop it. But then, yeah, the moments between Young-so and Sung-hoon of, she has a different viewing of him, even, of like, you really saved me from this creep.
Mm-hmm.
And him getting the door open for the bathroom for her so she didn't completely lose all dignity.
Well,
at least that not all of the dignity was stripped away.
There's still about 20% left.
So we're still having like these goofy fun moments where it's, there's the serious moments, but it's not a serious drama, so they don't last nearly as long.
Yeah.
But also I'm looking forward to the new developments between Young-so and Sung-hoon of like, okay, well, we've known that she's liked him the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always kind of like, yeah, he probably likes her back. But now it's like, no, he really likes her back as well. And so I'm excited for that development of the relationship there. But then also, like, I love this next episode.
I do too.
The black card. And I'm so excited for it.
It's one of my favorites.
It's like one of the best scenes of the whole show. So I'm just excited for the continuation of moving the story forward because, again, it doesn't lag at all.
No. And I think I like that she's going to come to know TaeMoo as someone who does things without expecting reciprocation.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's a hard worker, he's an honest person. The reason he was so frustrated with her is because he felt like she was taking advantage of him to begin with.
Right.
And now that he knows that's not the case, he's like, well, I kind of like you. So yeah, I'm very excited for this next episode. I feel like it's a good one for like growing their relationship, or at least their trust with one another.
Has some of the best tropes.
It truly does. Very satisfying. But yeah, I'm excited to keep trucking along with this one. What's our next show gonna be? Are we doing Love Next Door?
I think Love Next Door is our next.
Or were we gonna jump on King the Land? How many episodes are in Love Next Door? 16?
I think it's 16, yeah. I think we should do Love Next Door just because it was in our promo.
Mm-hmm. Like, Business Proposal is kind of like good one.
Kind of cutesy.
And
yeah.
then...
Oh, I remembered what it was. Marry My Husband.
Marry My Husband?
Yeah. It's the one with Park Min-young.
Uh-huh.
And
I think that's in, like, the top 10 highest grossing K-dramas of all time.
Yes.
It might be number 1.
Because it's the revenge time travel. And it got really, really big. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I've watched it 2 or 3 times already myself.
Yeah, seriously?
Yeah. I really, really enjoy her performance in that. Like,
Park Min-young?
Oh, she's chef's kiss in that. Like, she does so good.
I've heard that the Tangerine one is really gut-wrenchingly sad.
Yeah,
and I know I mentioned watching it.
I know I mentioned we could do that, and then I was like, yeah, maybe not. Maybe that can just be like the one I cry to, and then decide to tell Kim like, whenever you ever get through this whole show, we can just do one big ol', depending on how it is.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, well, that was episode 6. If you have not, make sure you check out some of our socials. Go...
Yes.
Make sure you go check out some of our socials. Go interact with us there. We would love to hear from you. Get some of your feedback. Let us know what you'd like to see. If you've not followed us on Instagram, make sure you go do that. If you want to catch more of our behind the scenes content, go check out our YouTube. I don't really know.
If you haven't checked out our other content, do that as well. Okay, bye.
Like what you're hearing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any new episodes. We'd love to connect with you on our Instagram at The KDrama Show. For more behind-the-scenes content, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. Links are in the show notes. Thanks for hanging out with us on The KDrama Show with Ashley and Kim, and we'll see you next time.